and welcome to the Monroe County Civic Theater's Actor Profiles, where we'll be learning more about our upcoming plays and about the people involved. I'm Kenny Herting, and today I'll be interviewing Nic Newby. Nic plays John Worthing in The Importance of Being Earnest in a Pandemic, a play by Don Zolidis based on the Oscar Wilde classic. Check out the link below for the details, and now joining me, Nic Newby. Hello, Nic. Or should I say, hello, how are you, my dear Earnest? What brings you here?
Oh, pleasure.
Yes, thank you for joining us today, Nic. So we're just going to ask you a few questions, starting off pretty simple, and then we're going to really dive in. So the first one is, how long have you been involved in theater?
To be honest, I've been involved for a really long time, but really on and off. So when I was in elementary school and middle school and high school, I was in school plays, class plays, and then the drama club at school. I did a lot of plays then. Then I kind of wasn't super involved through most of college, but here and there I would get involved in a local community theater thing. Then I moved here to Bloomington, and it was kind of the same thing. I was interested, but I hadn't really been actively involved until it's been a few years now that I've been actively involved with the Monroe County Civic Theater. And it's still kind of on and off with my work schedule and my life schedule. I can't be part of every production, but I've been really happy being involved with fairly frequent productions.
Well, fantastic. That actually is a great lead into our next question. How did you get involved with MCCT?
The short answer is Yolanda, who's playing Gwendolyn in this production, called me one day and asked me if I could be part of a different play. I think it was It's a Wonderful Life. And she said they just needed someone to help, and it was a really small part, but she'd be really happy if I could help. And I said, okay, sure, why not? And I kind of found this really wonderful group of people doing this really fun thing. Community theater is really fun. So after meeting everyone and kind of forming this bond that you inevitably form on the stage, then I kind of became more involved in the group and consequently more involved in the Monroe County Civic Theater productions.
Okay, awesome. So specifically with this one, how did you get involved in Earnest right now?
Well, through previous productions and through hanging out socially as well, I knew Becky, who's the director, and she got in touch with me and kind of pitched this idea that she was thinking of. I believe she told me that she actually hasn't directed a civic theater production before, so she was excited and nervous, and she sent me the script, and she said, here's kind of what I had in mind. What do you think? And I read through the script, and I loved it, and I was like, I think this is a great idea, and it's really, given the current global climate, it's really a cool adaptation, and to have someone from the theater group find it and say, hey, our group should do this, was kind of pretty appealing and exciting to me. So that's kind of how I jumped in.
Yeah, awesome. Well, speaking of jumping in, let's talk a little bit about your character. Why don't you tell us a little bit about John Worthing, or how you might describe your character?
John, or Jack as his nickname is kind of a he's a wannabe socialite, but he's also kind of awkward and kind of boring, unintentionally boring. His whole shtick in the play is that he's fallen in love with this girl Gwendolyn, who is kind of in the upper class, the upper crust of society, and so he's trying to win her over. There's a little bit of back and forth about whether or not he's the right person for her, and he's trying to convince her that he is, even though he doesn't really have a lot to offer.
Yeah, understood. It always gets a little bit worse when the relatives aren't on your side, huh?
Right.
So, how have you been preparing for this role, particularly with any Zoom adaptations that you've had to work through with this?
So I read through this script, of course, and I got a couple of the older versions of the actual Oscar Wilde version off of Netflix and watched those to kind of get some ideas of not only who the character is and how he acts as a person, but also kind of how the whole cast interacts together and what their roles are with each other, what their relationship is with each other. And kind of when I read the script the first time, well, not the first time, the first time I read the script was kind of like, are you interested in being in this? But then when I reread it, I read it more from like kind of stepping back and reading it more like it was a novel rather than a play I'm going to be in, and kind of internalizing all of the characters, how they interact with each other and with the story, and then putting myself in those shoes for this character as we come into rehearsals and trying to play out, that role.
Okay. So kind of thinking about this and playing out that role, we're in the age of COVID and social distancing right now. That's why we're doing a Zoom play. What has been the hardest part about the production or doing theater in general?
I guess it's kind of the same with the rest of most of our social lives. It's that there's a huge difference just for probably just about anyone in interacting in person versus interacting via the screen. Even if you know the people really well, even if you have this great rapport with each other and you've interacted in person before, there's still like this barrier, this barrier, this screen is the barrier, and the difficulty of not just being right there in person with these people that I have this like intimate bond with and that I just want to interact with, and there's just so much like immediate feedback that you can get from people in person that's a lot harder to read when you're doing it via one of these teleconferences.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, just thinking about on that, I mean, you talked about having that connection and where do you look and all those things play through, but right now your connection, your feedback is a camera, right? Rather than the eyes or the emotional connection of other people. So, all right. Well, thinking similarly about that, what are some new things that you learned as a result of these types of productions?
Well, I've learned that it's not impossible and can actually be really fun to to do rehearsals and do a play based around the idea of being on a Zoom conference or being remotely connected like we are. And I kind of feel like it's maybe given me a taste of what it's like to act for the screen, like television or movies.
Okay, very nice. So, why do you think this story is relevant for today's audiences? And what do you hope the audience takes away from the show?
On the surface, it's mostly just kind of a fun and funny story, and there are lots of laughs, cheesy laughs, and also some kind of subtle jokes. And when you get them, you're going to be like, that was clever. But beyond that, there's also kind of this underlying meaning it's kind of like being in relationships with people. You should just be who you are, and the people in the relationships with you should also be understanding of who you are. I mean, the whole premise is kind of about everyone trying to be someone they're not, or trying to, on the counterpart, trying to fall in love with someone based on one specific aspect rather than just falling in love with them for their personality. So I think kind of on a deeper level, it's kind of a story about that. Like, just everyone be honest with each other and everyone be honest about who they are, and connect with people based on who they really are, not your ideals of them or not your ideals of who you want to pretend to be, but based on who you really are as real people.
Awesome, and that's a great lead into one of our final questions. Why should audiences, the real people, come to see the show?
Well, like I said, I mean, it's a really, really fun show. It's been really well adapted for this particular medium. It's not just us doing our best to put on a play via a Zoom conference, but it's actually the script has been adapted specifically for Zoom and been adapted to be more relevant for the pandemic with, the masks and gloves and disinfectant. And it's funny and it's fun. We would be really happy to see you all there.
Awesome. Well, speaking for myself, I know I'm looking forward to seeing the play. It does sound like it's been a lot of fun and a lot of fun for you as well. So, Nick, if you don't mind, why don't you sign us off? Let the audience know when things are going on for this show.
Sure. Once again, I'm Nic Newby. I'm playing Jack Earnest in The Importance of Being Earnest in a Pandemic. And we will be doing a live Zoom performance this coming Saturday, April 10th at 7 p.m. And then there will be a recorded performance as well on Saturday, April 17th at 7 p.m. and Sunday, April 18th at 2 p.m.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Nick. And then for everyone out there, please be sure to visit www.mcct.org to get tickets. Again, my name is Kenny Hertling, and on behalf of MCCT, thank you for supporting the community theater.
Thanks, Kenny.
See you, Nick. Have a good one.